UFC 326 takes place this Saturday, March the 7th, 2026, in the T-Mobile Arena of Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I am here to give my breakdown of the entire card and to try to predict the winners of every single fight, starting with the early prelims and ending with the main event. Now look, right? This card, if you're kind of a casual guy or someone that just, does watch UFC on a regular basis, you're kind of looking at this card thinking, alright, it's pretty decent for a pay-per-view. Some big names, not too many, but there should be some pretty exciting fights, especially on the main card. There should be some good performances here and there. If you're someone like me, who, actually does try to predict every single fight on the card, or someone that, maybe plays fantasy MMA, you're looking at this card thinking, damn, you're kind of sweating a little bit, dude. This was a very, very hard fight card for me to try to make predictions for, man. I struggled with a lot of these picks. To kind of put into perspective how much I struggled, when I was writing my notes, when it came time to write my notes, it usually takes me like, an hour to 75 minutes to kind of put it all together from all my tape study that I do, and, and then like form opinions and all that good stuff. This card specifically, it was like 3 hours it took me to fucking write everything. I went through a lot of debate. So much so, out of 12 bouts, there's not only 12, there was 13, but out of 12, I only have 3 locks for this entire card, man. I think the sports books are going to make a lot of money from this show, so yeah, you know what? Let's just get into this, man. This is an interesting one to talk about. A lot of canceled fights too, which kind of sucks, but let's start things off. Luke Fernandez versus Rodolfo Bellato. Okay, Bellato is coming off, his Contender Series win. He's looked good. Bellato doesn't. He had his draw with Jimmy Crute, his no contest with Paul Craig, and his decision loss, which he looked pretty good. And Navajo Sterling is a guy like I actually am pretty excited about. So kind of a tough one here. I think I'm going to lean towards Rodolfo Bellato for this fight. I just think, Bellato, the guys that Luke Fernandez fights, right? And, he has some pretty flashy wins over guys on the regional scene. But I think the guys he beats don't really have good chins to survive early flurries, which kind of Fernandez kind of capitalized on. But I think Bellato is just another level of competition for a new guy to come into. It's a tough matchup for a guy that's debuting, man. So I just think Bellato has the type of chin to survive an early flurry from Fernandez. And, again, someone who likes to overwhelm regional prospects with up-close knees or elbows, like really get on top of them. And I just think, Bellato has more experience. He has the calf kicks to his advantage. And I think he just has the power advantage as well. So I'm going to lean towards Rodolfo Bellato to win this fight. Up next, we've got Rafael Tobias versus Dyer Nurgozhay. Interesting one here, man. I'm gonna lean towards Tobias. I think this is my first lock of the night. I'm gonna lean towards Tobias. I see him just being able to out-grapple Nurgozhay, maybe drop him early. Dyer likes to fight a lot with his hands down and is also pretty vulnerable to submissions. So I think Tobias will go for the body lock takedown, pull guard if he needs to, and just kind of wrestle this guy. Just out-grapple him, plain and simple. Whether it be by a submission finish or ground and pound TKO or just by decision. I just see Tobias fighting a bunch of different ways to be able to get this fight done. So I'm going to lean Rafael Tobias to win this one here. Nothing too crazy about this one. Too insane. I just don't think Dyer really has a lot. He has not really been as impressive to me. And I think Tobias Harris I'm more excited for. Up next is Mudaerji versus Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar, one of the smallest men on the roster. Very impressive guy, the way he fights. Mudaerji has kind of been, what are these losses to? These are Charles Johnson. That's a good sign. Tim Elliott, that's also probably a good sign. And Matt Schnell, well, 3 years ago that was a good sign. I'm gonna go with Mudaerji here. I just think it'll be a question of if Jesus is going to be able to close the range and blitz as well as he usually does, and, to be able to get in there, keep a pressure going on and pushing Mudaerji back, and just kind of piecing him up with a jab. I just don't think he's gonna be able to do it against Mudaerji here. I think Sue is gonna be the one piecing him up. And I just see Jesus having a hard time, closing the range, blitzing as well as he usually does against some of the other guys. And I think Mudaerji can also block calf kicks really well. He has a step in 1-2 that looks really good. His jab's going to be pretty good here as well. And I think the body and head kicks will play a big part of keeping Jesus away and keeping the distance between the two on his way for a decision win for Mudaerji. So I'm gonna back up Mudaerji to win this. I think that yeah. I think it's a good one. Plain as that, dude. Plain and simple as that, man. Up next, Cody Durden versus Niamjargal Tumendemberel. Interesting one. Interesting fight here. So many fucking flyweight fights recently, bro. I'm kind of getting sick of them. Like, can we just, like, focus a little bit more? This is, like, the 8th flyweight fight I've seen, like, in the last 2 weeks, dude. Can we just, like, can we focus on a little bit more of the other divisions, please? That's the least of UFC's worries right now. But anyway, I'm going to back up Tumendemberel here. I think, yeah. I think he only really loses to guys, like, Durden only really loses to guys that are, like, actual contenders. At least guys that can, like, get finishes in the UFC. And I just see Niamjargal being, like, the bigger, rangier striker that he is. The reach advantage is pretty impressive. And he also has a pretty dangerous front lock, too. I just see him being able to take advantage of those kind of things. I also kind of worry about Durden's chin and his durability. And I just think Niamjargal is the more explosive fighter. So I'm going to back Niamjargal Tumendemberel to win this fight here. You could make the argument for Cody Durden. I think Tumendemberel is still... I don't know what fight in the UFC this is for him. Okay, he's coming off his road to UFC wins. He lost to Carlos Fernandez and beat Terrence Saturn, which isn't like a crazy impressive win, but a good technical submission win. It was a good performance from him. And Durden has the better game. I think Durden, despite these losses to guys like Nascimento and Joshua Van, that's a good one. He still looked good in some of his last fights, and he isn't like the lowest level of competition. There are guys that are definitely worse than him in the flyweight division. So, it's kind of a tough matchup for Niamjargal, but I'm still going to back him to win this. I just think, the styles work better for him. I think the size and reach advantage will work for him. And I just, and you look at this fight, he lost by Anaconda choke in his last fight. Tumendemberel won by Anaconda choke in his last fight. So I just see Tumendemberel being able to get the win out of here. Maybe by submission. Who knows? But Durden's a tough guy, bro. He might surprise some people. I was really debating this one for a long time. Up next, Alberto Montes versus Ricky Turcios. We are now officially on the prelims. I don't think this was the fight that kicked off the prelims, is it? No, this is the second fight into the prelims. Interesting. Ricky Turcios. Who doesn't love talking about Ricky Turcios, man? I don't think I've heard a single person that like casually watches the sport ever talk about this guy, but you'll hear about him a lot from like I guess hardcore circles. This was also pretty tough, man. Well, how has Turcios been doing? It's loss to Bernardo Sobajal and submission to Rosas Jr. That's right. Wow. Meanwhile, Alberto Montes is coming off a contender series win from last year over Carlos Calderon. I'm going with Alberto Montes to win this fight. I think, Turcios has a good gas tank. He has a pretty high output, decent grappling, and can apply pressure well. But I just think he kind of lacks the power and accuracy needed for someone like Alberto Montes. And plus the fact he's moving up a division, he's going to lose the speed advantage he usually likes to have too. He can't scramble, but I just see him being caught in like an anaconda or a Darce choke from Montes. I just see him being a little bit, the scramble nature of him will just be kind of a disadvantage to him, I think. Despite having the experience advantage, I think Montes will be able to catch him at points and have better, grappling exchanges, have better submission attempts, go for him, just look better on the ground as well as on the feet. I don't think on the field play. I think it's pretty similar on the feet. It could be back and forth, which makes this kind of a tough pick again, but I'm going to go with Alberto Montes to win this fight via his superior grappling game. Up next, Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Dude, Lucas Tracy said in his video that Dante Johnson was just Miles Johns with hair. and I can't get that fucking sight out of me. It's almost ruined Dante Johnson for me, but still though, man, I'm gonna back my boy up here. I picked him to be a bigger star than Josh Hokett from the Contender Series. And I mean, like, to be fair, Hokett's getting a lot of his opportunities just because of how much he likes to run his mouth, so I'm not wrong yet. And I think he's going to be able to prove it here tonight. I think it's crazy, though, the Hokett's getting to fight someone like Curtis Blades while Johnson's still fighting someone like Cody Brundage. No disrespect to Cody Brundage, of course, but come on, man. That being said, I don't know if I said this, but I'm going Dante Johnson all the way. This is my boy. This is my guy right here, dude. He's just the man. Brundage will have his moments, I do think. But, Johnson himself can just survive being in a bad spot. He can reverse his position's momentum pretty well, and he can probably find something to knock down Brundage with, whether it be like, whatever strikes he wants to throw at him, he can find something probably. I don't think Brundage's durability is there anymore. I don't really see a way Brundage is going to be able to win this fight, so I'm going to go with Dante Johnson to win this. It's simple as that, man, What's he coming off of? A Cam Rouston and an Eric McConicle loss? Jesus Christ. Yeah, dude, come on. Dante Johnson all the way. Up next, the feature prelim bout. Cody motherfucking No Love Garbrandt versus Long Zhao. I'm going Cody Garbrandt, dude. I have to. I have to play this game instead of like, what is your ceiling? What is your floor? Surely Long Zhao is Cody Garbrandt's floor, right? Surely this is where he can get his momentum back. Gibson Figueiredo, that's not a terrible loss. Randy Barcelos that's also not a terrible loss. Long Zhao, bro, coming off his loss to Su Young Yu, Bi Quang Lee. What the fuck? Why has he only fought in like other Asians? What the hell? I'm going Cody Garbrandt, bro. I just think Garbrandt didn't look that bad against Barcelos. And, Long Zhao does have KO power. And Garbrandt does struggle against, like, specific types of jabs. But his takedown defense, bro. This guy's takedown defense is very, very good. Still is very good. And he himself can secure takedowns against lower level guys. Someone like a Long Zhao. I just see Cody Garbrandt being able to piece him up. Blitz into 1-2s. His chin is pretty cooked, but he can wrestle offensively and mix in takedowns if he's in trouble. I just see him doing all those things, man. I just see, like, whenever he gets in trouble, he's in a bad spot up against the cage, shoot a takedown, maybe get it, just get out of that spot, get back into the middle of the octagon, and then just try to do, and just have the superior striking, which I think he has. So I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt to win this. I do, the reach difference does kind of fucking trouble me. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Cody Garbrandt gets this win done. Plus 140 underdog is kind of disrespectful. I think this is just a case of people thinking somebody's, so washed. But I think this is where he gets his bounce back for No Love. So I'm going to predict Cody Garbrandt wins this fight. Let's move on to the main card. Gregory Rodrigues, Bruno Ferreira. Man, this is a tough one, man. This is a tougher one because, Rodrigues has looked great in his last few fights. He's kept pressure really well. He's always on the front foot, and he has these good jabs. Obviously, his power and his hooks. And when he's up close, he can knee you pretty badly and shoot takedown attempts. It's just when you're fighting someone like Bruno Ferreira, he's not someone like a Jack Hermanson or a Roman Kopylov. This isn't someone you can necessarily just kind of bully around quite a bit, This is someone that's going to also try to establish his own momentum. He's going to be way more dangerous than some of the other guys that Rodrigues has fought. He's going to be smarter with the footwork probably, and will probably blitz a lot more than some of these other guys do. He's like, Ferreira's going to be the kind of guy that's going to try to put his face to the fire and just try to find a way to get through some of Rodrigues' advances, Not, Kopylov, as good as he is, he's, I don't want to say submissive to pressure, but Ferreira's just less, intimidated, I should say. I think Ferreira's going to be also trying to, like, they're going to be exchanging momentum back and forth throughout this entire fight, which should make it pretty exciting. That being said, though, I am still going to go with Rodrigues here. I just think Rodrigues just still shows so many more improvements as he fights. He has very good game plans, and overall, he's just a very well-rounded fighter with, again, serious power behind his punches, man. Both guys have power, but Rodrigues is, like, on a different level, man. He also has the physicality advantage, I believe, and also huge height advantage, dude. Like, this is fucking nuts, dude. Ferreira is quicker, so I do see him being able to, like, dart around, and, you know, dance around. I try to get back to the centers a lot, and then also just kind of blitz right back in with, like, a right hook or something, but I don't think he's going to be as accurate. I don't think Ferreira's going to be as accurate as he wants to be. I think Rodrigues, again, is going to have a smart plan. He's going to know when to duck. He's going to know when to guard. And I just see massive improvements to Rodrigues' game every single time he fights. Even at his age now, he's still improving his game. So it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I'm going to go with Rodrigues, though. I think Rodrigues was going to win this fight. Probably by decision. I don't think Ferreira is going to get knocked out. He could just be clipped with something, but Rodrigues by decision. That's my pick. Up next. Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. Huh. This is such a funny fight. But why is this on the main card? I think this is a very funny one to have on the main card. Okay. Here's the deal with this one, right? Every fight has their deal. Here's the deal with this one. Michael Johnson's going to want to make this a more technical battle, you know, more of a range battle, fight the distance a bit more, jab up a bit more, and just do some simple exchanges, right? That's what he's going to want to do to try to get this win, right? Dober's going to want to thrive a bit more on chaos. He's going to want to try to, like, get in close, throw some wild combinations, you know, and some fucking forearms, some knees, maybe some elbows. And so it's just a matter of what style of fight's going to be implemented to where that's what's going to happen, right? Because that's how either guy wins this. I'm going to say Drew Dober wins this fight. I think, you know, Johnson, he's going to do pretty well. These betting lines being even is very telling, you know? It's very telling. I just think Dober's going to thrive a bit more in the chaos. I think he's actually going to absorb the damage. I think, you know, Dober's chin is deteriorating, but I don't think it's deteriorating at the level that people think. I think he's going to be able to absorb a lot of damage in this fight and still apply pressure, get up close, throw some powerful hooks, some straight lefts, some good kicks. And then once Dober finds his rhythm, I think he's going to be able to find a way to get the KO TKO here. It really does just come down to how, like, technical, how much distance can Johnson keep between him and Dober, and how close can Dober get. So it's a really tough one to call. Because, you know, Johnson, he's well-rounded. He has good takedown defense. He pulls in and out of range really well. Some very quick leg kicks. Yeah, I'm going Dober. I just think Johnson's gonna be too inconsistent, and I think the guys he beats, Darius Flowers, Almond Aidzar, which a lot of people predicted when I can't remember if he was the favorite or not on this, and then Daniel Zellhuber. Come on, we just saw how bad this guy is. You know, I'm going Drew Dober to win this fight. Fucking tough one, man. Don't bet on this one. Just don't. Also, Dober likes to beat up minorities. I just had that in there at the very end. At the very end, I had to add that in there. Up next, our feature fight of the night. Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Jr. Minus 270 favorite for the 21-year-old versus the 38-year-old. 17-year difference. That's insane. That might be a record. I'm going to go with Rob Font to win this. Rosas is a good grappler, but I think Font is the better striker. And, it's tough to say. Because one of the big factors when you're watching this was, one of the big fights I watched to really kind of gauge where Font is, it was his Gene Matsumoto win. And depending on how well you rate a fight like that, a win like that, kind of depends on what you think is going to happen in this fight. I think it's good enough to see, like, Font kind of defensive grappling. But Matsumoto isn't, like, a kind of guy that's, like, he didn't really implement that much grappling in his last fight, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's tough to say, man. It's just, all this is just really tough to say, dude. I'm going to say Font wins still. I think he's the better striker. I think he's going to be able to get up from the Rosas Jr. takedowns, which will be very tough. Rosas implements such a good ground game. You can just stay on top of you as much as he wants. But still, though, like, when you watch the Matsumoto fight, Font finds ways to get up from takedowns. And then just, break grips. Stuff the head, return to the center of the octagon, and just start piecing guys up. That's what he does, and I think when you look at his loss to David Martinez, that was something, the reason why he lost that was because, Martinez was just a very quick run around the octagon, just keep range and distance very far apart. I don't think Rose is that kind of guy, I think Rojas, also, when you look at Rojas and the way he enters into takedowns, he's usually applying the pressure striking-wise, trying to get Font up against the cage, which I don't think it's going to be very easy for him to do in this fight. Font isn't going to really, like, back down from this, or, if he has his back up against the cage, he's going to move around the octagon very quickly, and I think Rosas, he's not really the best at cutting people off, nor are his entries into takedown, like, that, I don't want to say great, but, like, bad or great. It's just, they're good, When you looked at the Vince Morales fight, he entered off of jabs, did the single legs, and holding of the arm into single legs, which was blocked that last one. So I don't think he's gonna have as easy of a time getting into the takedowns in this fight as compared to some of his other fights. I think Rob Font's jab is actually gonna work very well for him here. I think the uppercuts, the overhand right will work very well for Font. That being said, though, I do see Rosas, first round, figure out a way to get the takedown off of, like, a bad exchange, gets, like, a little bit unpredictable. I do have to give credit for Rosas for having a pretty decent striking game. I think it's a pretty underrated striking game in general. He can match the energy of, like, whoever he's fighting pretty decently. But still, I think first round will probably go to Rosas, and I think Font will just find momentum as the fight progresses. Definitely winning the third. I think it comes down to the second round. And I'm going to bank on Font being able to defend the takedowns. If he gets taken down, gets back up, and just piece up Rosas Jr. on the feet. Not to a finish or anything like that, but to a decision win. I'm going to go with Rob Font to win this. Yeah. I'm going Rob Font, dude. Yeah. Dude, I'm just, like, reading these notes, and I'm just like, oh, man. I'm fully invested in what I'm saying? I have to be. In our co-main event. What the fuck? What do you want me to say about this, dude? This is such a tough fight. This is such a tough fight to predict. Kyle Borralho versus Reinier de Ridder, two guys that are on massive win streaks in the UFC and are coming off not bad, like, pretty, like, losses. They're just coming off losses to better guys, So a lot's at stake here for both of them. I'm gonna say fucking Reinier de Ridder wins this, dude. I don't like saying that, because I think Reinier had the worst performance of the two, but I just look at the style and the matchup itself, and I just see holes. I see holes in Borralho's game. I just see Reinier de Ridder, right, being the bigger guy, plus it being a 3-round fight. That plays a very big part of it. I just seen him being able to out-grapple Borralho, out-pressure Borralho. Borralho himself is good at grappling, but I think he could lose position to RDR pretty easily. RDR will be able to, initiate a lot of clinches in this fight, get the better of these scrambly, awkward exchanges that, he does pretty well. Utilize strikes to the body and knees to the body up close to fatigue Borralho down, get takedowns, hold him down. And then, it being a 3-round fight, I think that favors RDR, We've seen The argument was always that, you know, in the Robert Whittaker fight, he lost the first 3 rounds if it was a 3-round fight, but then in the Brandon Allen fight, he won. If it was a 3-round fight, he would have won that fight. So it being a 3-round fight, I think it's gonna favor RDR. Borralho will be moving around the octagon with RDR being firmly planted. I think RDR is not gonna really, you know, be as much of a mover. I think Borralho was just gonna be moving around the outside a lot more, controlling the fight. But I think RDR is gonna be controlling the fight, getting the better of the exchanges, and keep Borralho clinched up or take him down and controlled on the ground. The only thing is that I'm worried about for RDR is, of course, the striking game of Borralho, you know. I think, you know, RDR is pretty susceptible to biting on a few feints from Borralho. And Borralho is probably the quicker of the two. I think the counter hooks and the overhands might give RDR some trouble. It's literally about, like, you know, who's got a stronger advantage. RDR on the ground or Borralho on the feet. Which one will play a bigger role, and who is better at which one? And that's tough to say, man. That's a really tough one. I'm still backing RDR though. I think RDR is going to be able to, you know, he's not going to look better on the feet. I think Borralho will probably jab him up, but I think the pressure that De Ridder applies, he'll go in there, make it up close, being the bigger guy, clinch up, throw some knees, fatigue him out, throw him to the ground, body lock takedown, just lay on him, not be able to really do anything. I think that's how he wins this fight. Interesting fight to make, dude. Finally, holy, main event. Fight we were all waiting for, dude. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira for the BMF title. Wow. Wow. I came closer to picking Charles Oliveira than I thought I would. I am still going to back up Max Holloway to win this, probably by finish, but this is a closer fight than I think people are going to really think of. Holloway obviously has the advantage on the feet, and Oliveira obviously needs to make this a ground game to, I think, win. It just comes down to it, though. I think who just has the better chin. And it's very clearly Max Holloway, dude. Like I said, he has a huge advantage on the feet. And when it comes down to, like, the thing with Charles Oliveira, right, is when he moves in, when he's, like, putting pressure on the feet, trying to look for a big exchange or look for a takedown, he doesn't move his head. He lacks head movement, right? And I think stuff like that is going to be a very big problem for him, because Max Holloway is going to take advantage of that right away. Charles Oliveira is going to be susceptible to the counter punches, and, you know, Holloway's also better at dictating range. He'll be in control with superior footwork, better combinations, and if Max is against the fence, that is Charles's best opportunity to kind of capitalize on making himself look better on the feet, you know, throwing knees and uppercuts, go for a standing guillotine, or you know, even the takedowns. But I trust in Max to be able to, you know, see those kind of moments coming, move away from the cage, you know, walk around, and, you know, just keep him at bay with some jabs and some good fucking combinations, dude. One of his best weapons for me is that duck down overhand he always does. He did it against Poirier, we saw it against the KO over Korean Zombie, even the KO over Justin Gaethje, you know, that was like that fucking duck down boom like that works really well for Max. And I just see Charles being so oblivious to that and just eating that over and over and over again. Max himself is just so amazing in these up-close scrappy moments, avoiding strikes and landing his own. Charles' best strike will probably be his straight right, but I think he's going to, again, struggle to cut off Max and won't be able to utilize the body shots and calf kicks he usually can against someone like, you know, a Gamrot or what are his other wins, like a Michael Chandler or a Beneil Dariush, you know? So Max will just be more mobile, more defensive, and become more aggressive and end the combinations really, really well. Now, in terms of the grappling, if Charles can get a hold of Max, right, he has these nasty knees and elbows in the clinch, body lock takedown against the cage, throws it down, gets on top, right? Max has just such an underrated grappling game that doesn't really get utilized because he's just so good at defending the takedowns, first of all, but, you know, when it comes time to actually being on the ground, he can get right back up, you know, springs back up usually. And against very good grapplers, he's able to do this as well. So guys like Brian Ortega or even Topuria, you know, he's just able to get up so quickly. And I do think Charles Oliveira is one of the best grapplers, not in just the division, in the UFC. So it'll be a very interesting test of that. But I'm going to back Holloway's ability to get back up from the takedowns and, you know, Oliveira not being able to really do anything with them or not be able to get to the back, which I think is the only way Charles Oliveira can win. You know, rock him, out-scramble him when he's on the ground, get the takedown, out-scramble him, get to his back. You know, that's, and, you know, if you lock in the back body, like, if you lock in the legs around his abdomen from the back, that is probably how Charles Oliveira would win this fight, but I just don't see that happening. I think Holloway wins this. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's just going to be a game of if Oliveira can absorb the punches, get into the ground game, get him against the cage, go for the takedown, get it, get to his back, and then get the submission in. And then if Holloway can just avoid all that, he's probably going to win this fight. If Oliveira can't sustain Max's very, very strong striking game still to this day, the best boxer in the UFC, like, I don't know what to say, man. I think Holloway gets it done. Let's go over like what the other people think will happen here. I think this is fair. This is probably what I put it to. I'll quickly go over the locks because I totally forgot to fucking talk about them as I was going through it. I think my 3 locks are Rafael Tobias, Deontay Johnson, and Cody Garbrandt. I think he has that good of an advantage over Long Zhao. I think people are just underrating him, man. So I'm gonna go with Cody Garbrandt, Deontay Johnson, and Rafael Tobias. What are some of our predictions for ones that are close? It's because of the last fight, man. Everyone just gets so caught up in the last fight. They base everything off of just that last fight, you know? And, you know, Borralho did look better against the better opponent, but it's the stylistic matchup, dude. That's what you're forgetting, man. That's what you're forgetting. The stylistic matchup. What about this one? It could happen. Like, these totally could just happen, too, by the way. Like, Rosas could really just be that good of a grappler. He takes him down, controls him, doesn't get a submission in, just 15 minutes of ground control. Like, that could happen, dude. What do people say about this one? Wow. No way. That's insane. I'm going Dober. Like, there you go, bro. Like, just flip a coin. Yeah. More lopsided than I thought it would be. Again, because his last fight looked so good. What about this one? See? Look at this, bro. 71% say Garbrandt. He's a plus 140 underdog. You know what I'm saying? Like, how lopsided is this? Let's go, Dante. I don't really care about the other ones. Though, those are my predictions for UFC 326. Confidence-wise is like a 2 out of 10, dude. This is a tough test for your boy, and I struggle to see myself getting above an F, to be honest here. If we somehow get an A, we somehow get like just an A minus, right? Holy shit, call me the GOAT. Just call me the fucking GOAT here, man. Yeah, that'd be incredible. Watch your other, like, see what your other, like, your favorite MMA YouTubers pick, right? Because I think, you know, and how well they'll do, that'll really tell you how good of a fucking, how good they are predicting. Because these were tough for me, man. This is one of my longest videos already so far because of just how much stuff I had to go over with every single guy. It's insane, bro. That's it though. Those are my predictions. Those are my predictions. Tell me in the comments what you think your predictions are. How much you disagree with me, what you agreed on me with, and how much I guess you'll be betting. Please don't bet on this card. Don't give the Sport Bucks any money, bro. Please don't. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, share, hype up the video, help me in the algorithm. All that is deeply, deeply appreciated. If you want to get my reactions to the inevitable fight card, plus we're getting that White House card announcement on this. That'll be a video after that talking about that. So be excited for that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see my reactions to all those things, the fallout from UFC 326 and the White House card announcement. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. That's gonna do it for me though, guys. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.